This is lesson 1-4, decimal place value. Our central question is how can you read a number such as, and we would normally say 0.4082. Or the way we actually would read that is 0 and 4,082 10,000s. And we're going to talk about that more in detail. But before we move on, I want you to copy this picture. You really only need to copy this part here. We've already talked about the regular place values. Now we're really just focusing on everything after the decimal. So I'd like for you to copy that down because you will be needing it. We have one vocab word, which is decimal, which is a number with one or more digits to the right of the decimal point. Example 1, write the place and the value of the number. So we have the number 1 underlined here. So we're writing the place of it and the value. This is why I asked you to write down the place value chart, because you just start with the decimal point and move to the right. So the 0 is in the tenths place. If you're looking at your chart right now, you would see that. The other 0 is in the hundredths place. So that leaves us with a 1 in the thousandths place. So I'm going to write a P for place, and it's in the thousandths. Now when we talk about decimals, all the place values for decimals end in a THS. So that makes it a little bit different than our normal place values. Now for the value, remember when we had regular numbers, no decimals, everything after the number became zeros. But this time, for decimals, everything before that number becomes zeros. So we would have 0, and the 2 digits before it were already zeros. So the value is just 1,000. Example 2, write the number in word form. So we'll start here. That's just a regular whole number. So we write it as 1. Whenever you see a decimal, and this is important, a decimal, you write the word and. So we have 1 and. Now we worry about everything after the decimal. Here's how you write it. For just a second, you pretend it's a normal number, and you write it just like you would any other number. So I just take this like a normal number and write 5,000, because 5 is in the thousands place. 600, because the 6 is in the hundreds place. Remember, we're just pretending it's normal. Normal number. Ran out of room a little bit, but that says 100. The 2 is in the tens place, so that becomes 20. And then, of course, the 9 is just in the ones place, so it's just a 9. And then here's the one last thing that just makes it a little bit different. We look at the last digit. The last digit is a 9. And we see what place is that 9 in. And again, if you look at your place value chart, start at the decimal and move to the right, you can see that the 9 is in the 10,000ths place. So we just end with writing 10,000ths. So if I were to read that, it's 1 and 5,629 10,000ths. Example 2, write it in short word form. So again, this is something that we already did with whole numbers, and now we're just adding another little part. So our first one is 568. We can leave that as a number. Remember, when you have a decimal, you write the word and. Now we look at this part. I see the number 101. Sorry, I missed the 1 there. So we can write that out as a number. Remember, short word form combines numbers and words. So the 101, remember we look now at the last place, and that is 4 places over. So if you look at your decimal right here, you go 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So if you're looking at your place value chart, start at the decimal and go 4 places. You can see that that 1 is in the 10,000s place. So we write that out in word form. So short word form, you can just write the numbers, and whatever your places are, you write that out in words. And example 4, we're writing it out in expanded form. So when we do expanded form, we start with the first digit, which is a 2, and everything after the 2 becomes zeros. So I have a 7 after the 2, so that becomes a 0. And then after the decimal point, it's not really necessary to write 20.00000 because those have no value. 20.0000 is the same as 20. So I can just leave it as 20. Plus, next digit is a 7. And again, the same thing applies there. I don't need to write 7.000. It's the same as 7. Plus, the next value is a 6. Now, everything after the decimal, if there's zeros, it doesn't matter. But it's not true for the other way around. So when you have a decimal and you have zeros before, that's important. If you have zeros after the decimal, that's not important. So when we have our 6, we still need to include a 0 before the decimal. So we have 6/10. Plus, when we have zeros in these 2 places, we don't need to include them. So we move on to the 3, and everything before the 3 has to become zeros. So we have 3 10,000s. And here are your practice problems. The first one, you're writing the place and the value of the underlined digit. And then number 2 is a 3-part question. You have to write the number in word form, short word form, and expanded form. Don't forget to re-watch the examples if you need to. Don't forget a word problem or question, and rate your understanding.